Can we go live? Good afternoon. I'll call this Act 250 hearing to order. Today's Tuesday, October 14, 2025. The District 4 Environmental Commission is meeting in Essex Junction, Vermont, to conduct a hearing on permit amendment application 4C1365. Filed by River's Edge Building Development Company Co. The applicant requests an Act 250 permit to construct 2 new local roadways to serve 107 new residential dwelling units, roughly on the southwest corner of Old Stage Road and Mountain View Road in Williston. The project tract is 94.66 acres, and which would be subdivided into 3 lots. 2 of the lots, 14.98 and 33.44 acres respectively, will be dedicated to the town of Williston for a total of 48.42 acres. The remaining 46.24 acre lot would include 107 footprint lots for the residential dwelling units, resulting in the creation of 110 total lots. My name is Thomas A. Little. I'm the chair of the District 4 Commission. I live in Shelburne. My fellow commission members here are Monique Gilbert of Heinsberg to my left and Parker Riley of Burlington on my right. South Burlington, formerly of Burlington. Caitlin Hayes is the District 4 coordinator managing this application, and she is supported by Stephanie Monahan, our other District 4 coordinator. And now I have some recitations to go through that are required by relatively recent state statute changes that cover Act 250 hearings when we have some people participating remotely. So bear with me on that. We're providing public access to the hearing by online video conference with additional access offered through telephone. We're using the Microsoft Teams platform for the hybrid meeting. All members of the commission have the ability to communicate contemporaneously during the meeting because we are here in person, and the public has access to contemporaneously listen and, if desired, participate in the meeting by attending in person or downloading the Microsoft Teams application, or by calling into the toll-free number provided in the meeting notice. In addition, we have provided public notice of these instructions for accessing the hearing. We previously gave notice to the public of the necessary information for accessing the hearing, including how to access it using telephone or Microsoft Teams in our meeting notice. That document, including those instructions, has also been provided in the meeting notice on the Act 250 database online. If anyone participating remotely is having a problem using Teams on your computer, you can call into the meeting on your telephone using 802-828-7667 and then entering 390-429-837#. These numbers are also in the written hearing notice if you need to look them up. For those of you who may participate by phone, press *5 to raise your hand and your microphone will be enabled, and then press *6 to unmute your phone. Now, some useful housekeeping items. This hearing is subject to Vermont's open meeting laws. So by participating, you are consenting to being audio and visually recorded, and for that recording to be published in the Land Use Review Board's online database and or its YouTube channel. In addition, any written information or exhibits provided to us or Act 250 staff regarding this official business is considered All that's considered public record and will become part of the permanent record to be published on the board's online database. Chat function has been disabled for this Teams meeting. The hearing is being recorded, including any noises, barking dogs, personal conversations made if you are participating remotely and your microphone is not muted. Therefore, please mute your microphone when not speaking. If you would like to speak during the hearing, raise your hand if you are in the hearing room. If you're participating via Teams online, please use the raise hand feature in the toolbar, the top center of your screen. And as I said earlier, if you're participating exclusively by telephone, press *6 to unmute. Speak up so that we can hear you. I think you also have to press *5 for that. For the audio-visual record and for the benefit of those participating solely by telephone, please state your name before speaking and, if relevant, your street address. And this is important. Finally, please do not log into the Microsoft Teams meeting on a computer or other device and also participate on your phone at the same time, because that will cause some very distracting audio feedback that can greatly disrupt the hearing. We'll start the meeting by taking a roll call attendance of all persons at the meeting. And if there's anyone in the room that hasn't signed in yet, please do so. As I call your name, those of us in the room, please raise your hand to identify yourself. Michael Mouse. Afternoon. Brian Courier. Paul Brogna, Peter Shepard, Emily Heyman.
Emily's online.
Okay, you're
Yeah,
online.
the next folks are online.
The next folks, okay, so why don't you read those? We've got the screen.
Yeah, so we have Emily Heyman, who is here representing the Town of Williston. We have Yvonne Bass, who is, I believe, representing the Vermont Department of Historic Preservation, and Marla McQuiston. Marla, you are representing yourself, I recall from our emails. Okay, and you will have an opportunity to check in shortly here.
This applies, I think, to the people on who are remote, because everyone else has done this already with our sign-in sheet. Anyone who is requesting party status and anyone else who would like to continue to receive documents associated with this proceeding must provide us with an email address or a mailing address. So that those participating remotely via Teams, please email the district office and explain your interest in the proceeding in relation to where you live or where you own property. Provide your full name and contact information. Then the email address for the district office is in the official notice for the hearing. Commissioners have reviewed all of the materials submitted with the application, in part with an eye towards identifying any potential conflicts of interest that a commissioner might have. We have done that, and we are not aware of any conflicts of interest that need to be disclosed at this time. Does anyone here or online have any concerns about the commissioners who will be reviewing this application? Okay. Outside of today's proceedings, I remind everyone that all communications by letter, email, telephone, or in person must flow through Caitlin Hayes, the district coordinator assigned to the application, and not through other parties or commission members. I'm now going to ask anyone present in person or on Teams who thinks that they might address the commission during the hearing to swear or affirm that they will tell the truth. Accordingly, anyone who expects to address us, please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony or evidence that you shall provide relative to the consideration of this application shall be truthful, accurate, and complete under the pains and penalties of perjury? If so, answer, I do.
I do.
You?
For any folks who are online, if you are planning to speak, if you can turn your video on and just raise your right hand and just say I do, and we'll be able to see you do that.
I do.
Thank you, Yvonne.
So in a moment, we'll ask the applicant to give us an overview of the application, but first I want to explain party status, what that means, and the process for seeking party status. There are three ways a person may participate in an Act 250 proceeding. The legislature has determined that certain persons or entities or organizations or towns have a right under Vermont statutes to participate as a party. These are parties by right or statutory party. The state and all of its agencies, town select boards, town planning commissions, and regional planning commissions have this status of parties by right. Second, a person may be admitted as a party if they can show a particular interest relatively unique to them that might be affected by the project and demonstrate that their interest is related to any of the Act 250 criteria. Those who are admitted as parties will have the right to appeal the commission's decision if they disagree with it, to also cross-examine witnesses and call witnesses of their own. Party status is decided on an issue-by-issue basis. Act 250 is organized around 10 criteria and 22 sub-criteria. When your turn comes and you wish to seek party status, identify yourself, where your property is located, and tell us each Act 250 criterion under which you believe the project will adversely affect you or your property. These include, for example, traffic, aesthetics, among many. The commission will make a party status determinations when you have done that on a preliminary basis so that we can organize and proceed with the hearing. After we hear all of the testimony, sometimes we determine that while it appeared at first that someone should have party status under a specific Act 250 criterion, ultimately they did not sufficiently prove or document an impact under that criterion. We make final party status determinations when we issue a final decision. Even if you do not qualify as a party or seek to become one, the commission may allow you to participate as a friend of the commission if you are able to offer the commission certain information that might not otherwise be available to us. If you're able to do that, for example, you might be an attorney, an engineer, or a scientist, or somebody with some specific specialized knowledge that might inform the proceeding. You're within the discretion of the commission. Your participation may be limited. Friends of the commission do not have appeal rights. No one is required to seek party status or friend of the commission status, and some neighbors or town residents simply want to listen and become more informed about a project. All are welcome in the hearing room. Ultimately, our responsibility under Act 250 is to collect evidence as to whether the project meets the requirements of Act 250, and based upon the evidence to decide either to issue a permit with conditions or without conditions, or deny a permit. We gather the evidence in order to make an informed decision. This hearing is a critical part of the process to collect that evidence. Does anyone have any questions about the party status or other ways to participate process?
We do have one more person who has joined via telephone online. So I think we should get some contact info for them and their names.
Okay, could person who is participating by telephone please press *5 to raise your hand, and then we can enable your microphone,
They are unmuted now, so you should,
and then press *6 to
Can you hear me?
unmute.
yes.
Yes. Good. Now,
This
could you
is Mark
introduce
McElroy.
yourself?
I'm the, yep, this is Mark McElroy. I'm a adjoining landowner.
Is that MC
I'm at
capital IROY?
capital E.
And where do you live, Mark?
It's 195 Windridge Road.
Okay. Okay. And can you give us an email address so we can have that?
Sure. Mark W. McElroy at gmail.com.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
We'll be I'll be asking you some questions in a moment. For the record, the commission members visited the site earlier this afternoon, where we reviewed the site plan, walked around a little bit of the property, and observed the landscape and the natural resources present on the project tract, looked at the horizon and the areas surrounding the project. Any comments made at the site were not recorded and are not part of the record. I think I'm going to go right to party status. So this is, I'll address this first to Marla McQuiston. So Marla, good afternoon.
You're still muted, Marla. Oh, there you go.
Good afternoon.
Hi, how are you?
Where is your property? Where do you live, Marla?
I live in Old Stage Estates, so on Southfield Drive. I'm primarily attending because I'm part of a parent group, parents of young adults with developmental disabilities, and we are working on finding some properties or potential places for our young adults to create a home within within Williston. Most of our young adults have grown up here, and most of us are getting quite old and don't have are not willing to have our young adults be housed in the foster care system that the state has at the time. So we're working on setting up some type of a residential small housing property. And some of us are interested in the Glasser property because we live nearby.
So
So
are
we're-
you,
I'm
sorry,
sorry,
go ahead.
I'm done.
Okay, so are you looking at this project as possibly a building some housing that might serve the needs that you've identified and just described?
Yes, we haven't really had a chance to talk to the developers or anything, so I'm sort of just gathering information.
So you heard my description of the party status
Mhm.
process? Is party status something you want to request, or are you just
No.
going to listen and take it all in?
Yep, just gonna listen. We don't want to request party status.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, and then I will ask you, Mr. McElroy, could you, I'm not sure how much of my explanation of party status you were able to hear when you got into the meeting. But parties, go ahead.
I think I heard most of it, but
Okay. So would you like to request party status on any of the Act 250 criteria?
well, I mean, I was just calling in to listen. I didn't plan to share any information or anything more than
Okay.
just listen into the process.
Well, thank you. You're welcome. I know for about the site visit, it had stopped raining when we were there. We appreciated that. So I'm going to ask the applicant now to give us an overview of the project. The application goes into great detail on the Act 250 criteria.
Sorry, is Mr. Mouse,
Hmm?
are
Oh,
you?
I'm sorry. Mr. Mouse, sorry about that. Are you seeking party status or just here to listen and maybe make some comments?
The latter,
Okay.
listening perhaps to a comment.
Okay, well, we'll treat you as a friend of the commission.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm an adjoining property on our
Okay.
own windswept farm.
Okay. As I said, the application goes into detail on the Act 250 criteria. The criteria that I think we're interested in having the applicant cover are the following ones. Number one, air pollution. 1E, streams. 1G, wetlands. 4 is soil erosion. 5, traffic, transportation. 8 is aesthetics. 8A is necessary wildlife habitat. 9B is primary agricultural soils, and 10 is local and regional plans. And Yvonne, for the VDHP, would you like to testify at some point when we get to that point?
We've already covered pretty much everything we were concerned about. I was mostly going to attend in case people had questions about historic resources. Yeah.
Okay. And I'll ask the same question of you, Emily Heyman. Do you wish to speak at some point and we'll call on you then, or are you going to listen and see how we do?
I'm planning to listen in.
Okay. Well, you know how to get our attention if you do wish to speak up. So we'll ask, I think, Brian, are you going to speak for the applicant?
Yeah.
Okay, you have the floor.
Thank you. So I'll start with a quick overview. So it's the proposed project is on the southwestern corner of Mountain View Road and Old Stage Road in the town of Williston. It's in the town's RZB district, which coincides with their sewer core. There's really 3 segmented portions of the project. The southern portion, which is hatched in light gray on the plan on the screen there, is about 33 acres to be dedicated to the town of Williston. This is with the intention of the town reaching agreement with Windswept Farm in order for them to continue operations. The middle of the parcel is broken up by a rather large class 2 wetland shown in dark green on the plan up on the screen here. That wetland bisects 2 development clusters. The southern one is 69 units, 2 curb cuts on Old Stage Road, most southern opposite Wildflower Circle. serving 69 units. The units are a mix of single families, duplexes, and triplexes. The roads proposed with sidewalks on both sides. There's a community building, a private parking area for the community building, served by municipal sewer, municipal water, and stormwater facilities. Also Green Mountain Power and Vermont Gas. In the small area in between the two green portions on this plan, there's a recreation path that connects the southern cluster with the northern cluster. The northern cluster development has a curb cut on Mountain View Road, serving 38 units, the same general unit mix. We have triplexes, duplexes, and single families. Glazer Court, the roadways called ends with a cul-de-sac, also served by municipal water, municipal sewer, stormwater, Green Mountain Power, and Vermont Gas. And the most northern segment of the project, also hatched in light green, is just under 15 acres, also to be dedicated with the town of Williston, with the intention of preserving a view shed along Mountain View Road. Roughly where the curb cut is on Glazer Court, there's a very nice view of Camel's Hump to the southwest. So that view would be preserved. The only construction happening within that area is some minor grading and also a long rec path along Mountain View Road that connects to an existing rec path on the southeast corner of Old Stage Road and Mountain View Road today. So the proposals for 107 residential units, 10% of which are to be dedicated as affordable per Town of Williston standards.
What, tell us something about the wetlands process and where that permit application is.
So the wetlands were delineated, I believe it was the summer of 24, verified by the state wetlands program. We have 2 impacts associated with the project. There's a utility crossing at the most narrow point of the class 2 wetland that splits the 2 development clusters. It's a water main and a sewer force main crossing there. And then there's a wetland buffer impact, roughly where Glazer Court, there will be a stop sign and immediate left turn. There's a slight, or there's a class 2 50-foot buffer impact up by Glazer Court. So those are the 2 wetland impacts associated with the project, and individual wetland permits currently on public notice.
When will that come off notice? Do you have a rough idea? We can look it up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Within the next week or 2, I don't imagine.
We looked at that part of the project site when we were out there. Is there any stream or seasonal or otherwise that flows through that wetland area?
So there is a mapped, per A&R mapping, there is a stream that's within that, the lower half of the class 2 wetland, shown as that blue line. So the wetland boundaries are the dashed blue line. The solid blue line on that plan is a mapped stream per A&R. They did submit comments as part of an entry of appearance. Essentially, the buffer, wetland buffer, is essentially, greater than that of a riparian buffer to that size stream.
Okay.
How are you planning to delineate the wetland for the homeowners so that they know
Yep.
that buffer?
Yep, so the town of Williston has a conservation commission, so we worked with them, and it's where the boulders, I think it's within, I want to say 10 or 20 feet to a structure, they want them placed 10 feet on center. And then as it expands further than that, I think we go to the state required 50 foot on center. So generally it's we're expecting boulders. I know the state also allows, 4x4 posts with birdhouses. They also made a request to delineate the section of the buffer that abuts the 15 acres being dedicated to the town, as the hopes is the farmer will continue to hay that area. They did request that that be delineated with posts that stick up above the grasses. So I think it'll end up being a mix of those three.
Anything specific on soil erosion concerns that you can share with us?
Nope, it's a moderately sloping site. As you can imagine, it slopes down to the wetlands that splits the two development clusters. We did apply for a construction general permit, and that has issued already.
It doesn't look like there would be anything that needs blasting here, but is there?
So we did include a blasting plan. We also included ANRs, BMPs for blasting. We did do test bits before the project started. We don't anticipate any blasting. From my experience with Act 250, if there's ever a question that blasting may be required, we typically provide these materials with the district commission. So if we do encounter some ledge on site, you know, we're not ground to a halt. So there was blasting on North Ridge, which is southwest of here. There's no obvious or apparent outcrops on the site, but this end of Williston, we have run into blasting in the past. So.
Does the development with on the Old Stage Road, is on the left-hand side of that as we're looking at the map, does that align with the existing road across the street?
Yeah, so one of them does. So the two curb cuts on Old Stage, the most southern, creates a four-way there.
And will there be any what will the infrastructure or what's it going to look like to people driving in and out of the development and up and down Old Stage in terms for safety and
Yep.
site purposes?
Yeah, so we do have adequate site distances there, greater than 500 feet in each direction. As you probably noticed today, Old Stage is pretty flat in that area. The town does require a 3% transition for 50 feet in order to have a safe stopping area at the bottom of the new proposed roadway. The roadways are specifically aligned in that spot for a four-way stop sign, or I'm sorry, the two minor approaches would be stop controlled, but Old Stage would not. But a four-way intersection, and there is a pedestrian crossing there where the town's required rectangular flashing beacons. That's the only pedestrian crossing on Old Stage Road. There's actually a sidewalk shown from the southern curb cut to the northern curb cut of the loop road to only have that one crossing at the four-way, not a mid-block crossing.
Mm-hmm. Could you walk us through the wildlife habitat and primag soil pieces?
So as far as wildlife habitat, we reached out to the ANR senior planner in 2024. Fish and Wildlife requested a grassland bird survey be completed as part of the project. So basically there's a pretty limited time frame when grassland birds nest. I think it's towards the beginning of July. So we were within that time frame. So we contracted with Fitzgerald Environmental, who did a grassland bird study. Basically, they went out during this nesting season multiple times and, basically took note of what kind of species were there. The Fish and Wildlife Department had concerns about the southern field and the northern field. But our grassland bird study showed that just the northern field was grassland bird habitat that met the definition that Fish and Wildlife was looking for. This was substantiated with a site visit from the Fish and Wildlife folks. Yeah. Perfect. So this is showing the pink area is areas that they expect to be directly impacted. So that's the northern half the northern cluster. And then the hatched area there is indirect impacts. So basically, Fish and Wildlife was saying if you impact a certain amount of the habitat, then basically the balance is fragmented and doesn't serve the purpose for habitat or grassland birds. So they do have a program that Fish and Wildlife has a program where basically a developer pays into a fund in order to, I believe it's to promote farmers from haying within certain times of years, which creates more of the grassland bird habitat. I believe our payments were just upwards of $80,000 as far as impact. It's based on the amount of acres. And then there's a multiplier of 2. And basically, we came to an agreement with Fish and Wildlife that this mitigation payment could be made over a 30-year period, basically funding this program every year for a 30-year, or a portion of the program every year for a 30-year term. And basically, we would pay that mitigation fee at the start of construction on a yearly basis, but whatever the balance is, we don't expect to be out here for 30 years. Whatever the balance is at the end of the project, it would be paid in full upon the last closing of the last unit.
What, has that northern site been paid regularly?
Fairly regularly, yeah. How far down the slope?
Yeah.
Mr. Moss Hayes tends to be, how wet of a season it is, but generally the hay that's cut there serves Windswept Farm today.
Mike, is that 1 cut or 2 you generally do?
Depends on the year.
Yeah,
If it's a really wet year, sometimes you only get 1. This
Yeah.
year I got 2.
okay. Okay.
I'm puzzled by the 30 years. Like, why would you spread it out for that long to make that type of a payment? Like, why? Obviously, you're not going to be there for 30 years.
Right.
So-
Yeah, and the idea is whatever the balance is at the end. So if we're out there for 10 years, whatever the balance is, the remaining 20 years would be a lump sum payment at the end of the project.
Prime Ag?
Yep. So we actually had Ari Rockland Miller actually submitted an entry of appearance today at 1:45. But I had a discussion with him earlier today. So we had a prime ag mitigation plan that was sent to the ag folks. It's since been reviewed, and his entry of appearance agrees with our mitigation numbers. So I guess to back up a little bit, we are asking for appropriate circumstances for offsite mitigation. We are in the municipal sewer core, power, gas, water, all typical of offsite mitigation at this site. So we did put together an offsite mitigation plan that's been sent and reviewed and approved by AAFM. Our only request that's a little atypical here is that we're requesting the district commission to phase the prime ag impacts in 2 phases, just because the development clusters are so separate from one another. We're asking for phase 1, which is the southern portion in the red, to be paid prior to construction, as phase 1, as I said, is the southern loop. And then phase 2 would be the area associated with the northern cluster, and it's shown in blue on the plan up on the screen there. I believe once you apply the statutory multipliers, the fee ends up being $260,000, or just above that. But we're asking for it to be phased in 2 separate. So the southern is 167,000, and the northern is 105,000 for a total of 272,000.
Anything you want to say? I know this got covered informally at the site plan, but compliance with the town plan?
Yeah,
I think for the record, if you could
Yeah,
walk
sure,
us through that. it would
So
be good.
we participated in something unique to the town of Williston called a specific plan process. Essentially, the first step, the purpose of the process is you can modify, change, augment any portion of the Williston Development Bylaw if you can prove that your project creates a significant public good for the town. Now, there's a list of items that are significant public good. You can't just, make them up out of thin air. So this project took advantage of maintaining a working landscape, being that of Windswept Farm and the 30 acres being dedicated around the farm to the town, and also preserving a view shed along the public way of Mountain View Road. And that equates to the 15 acres being dedicated to town on the eastern part of the parcel. So we originally started this project with the Planning Commission. They voted that the project did have a significant public good in order to move it to a specific plan committee, which was made up of DRB members, Planning Commission members, and then a couple of neighbors, town staff. And our team, we met twice a month for probably 6 months. This is actually very close to the plan that we came up with. It's changed very little since. From there, the specific plan committee voted to render the plan back to the Planning Commission. From there, they voted to approve us, and we got moved on to the Select Board. And the Select Board was approving the project and also an amendment to the Williston's Development Bylaw. So this plan, Emily can tell you what appendix it is, but this plan is actually within the Williston Development Bylaw, which is, pretty unique circumstance where more or less that master plan is in the development bylaw that we're being approved under locally. And then from there, we go and do a 3-step process with the DOP. So we have sketch, preliminary, and final with the Development Review Board after all of that. So I would just say the only portion of their regs that we sought to modify as part of that specific plan, the only piece of it that we modified was Williston has a fairly rigid, or used to have a more rigid growth management process. Essentially, they dealt out more or less building permits for residential units once a year, and basically you had to wait in line until you had enough building permits in order to move forward with your project. So we bypassed that system by creating those two pieces of public good, and we agreed with the town that we wouldn't construct more than 18 units per year as part of this project.
If we can go back to that site plan, so this is question out of curiosity. There's an interesting curved line that wends its way over and around and over to the turtle pond area. What is that? A walking path?
That's a tree line.
A tree? Okay.
Yep.
All right.
Yeah, so the tree line actually that we saw on our site visit today, when you're looking towards the end of the loop road, it's actually a hedgerow there. It's just very pronounced hedgerow. So the actual tree line that is more or less where the class 2 wetland boundary is on that end of the parcel is further back.
I saw some tall pine trees over there. Is that the tree line?
Yeah, there's a pretty substantial class 2 wetland on the northern part of the 33 acres.
What you've told us about the wetlands permit. Are there any other permits applied for and still outstanding of any kind?
Yep, so we have our construction general permit for erosion control. Our public water system construction permit has issued also. The only ones we're waiting on, which have been applied for and have been in technical review for a little bit, are our WW permit, wastewater and potable water supply, and our stormwater permit.
What was the second one? I'm sorry.
WW and stormwater operation.
And the stormwater.
Right.
Wetlands. Okay.
Yep, wetlands is on public notice.
Yeah.
I believe our CDP was submitted with our application, and then, our permit to construct has issued since applying. But the, two that are still in tech review are WW Stormwater Operations.
Mr. Mouse, do you have any comments you'd like to share with us at this point?
I think that this is probably the best solution. Once the town plan said that housing was going to be built in this part of Williston, and there's sewer, there's water, there's so much land left open. There's so much green area, which I think is really important for Williston and for Vermont, that it doesn't end up looking like New Jersey. And this plan is keeping a lot of that open. So that when you walk or you bike or whatever, you're seeing green space. And I think that green space is something, as human beings, we need, rather than surrounded by asphalt and that kind of an environment.
Thank
So obviously it would be lovely if everything could be kept open. That's not possible, but this has the fewest number of houses and large areas of green space. And I think that's really crucial.
Okay, thank you. Ms. McQuiston, do you have any comments or questions you'd like to share or ask at this point?
No, thank you. I'm fine.
Okay. And the same question for you, Mr. McElroy.
No, nothing to add. Thanks.
And how about for the town, Ms. Hayman? Do you have any words
No
of wisdom for us?
town.
And Yvonne, for the VDHP, are you all set?
We're all set. Thank you.
Okay. Have anything?
All set, thanks.
Okay. Well, thank you for your participation. We will consider and assess the testimony and evidence today. What we typically do most of the time is we issue a hearing recess order that may ask the applicant for some additional information that came up during the testimony today, and allows people to respond to that once it's been filed. Once all of that process is completed, we will consider the record to be final, and we will deliberate and issue our decision as expeditiously as possible. The applicant have anything else? If not, we will stand in recess. Thank you.
Thank you.